Okay. Okay, let's begin our prayers. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katamayam Dadati Swapadantikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is where we stopped last week. We were doing chapter 3 and section 5. Do you know the name of this chapter?
Karma Yoga.
Yes, Mataji, Karma Yoga. So we'll start where we stopped because we want to finish this and then go to chapter 4. So let us not waste time. There's so much to cover. So section 5, conquering the ultimate enemy, lust. Next, Arjuna asks an important question. Let's see what he asks. After hearing text 3.34, one may determinedly think, yes, from today onward, I will steadily do my duty and control my attachments and aversions. I will act only according to Shastra. But experienced teachers state that, however, such immediate inspirations may prove difficult to adhere to over time. Arjuna, being aware of reality, asks the following question. Okay, let's see what he asks. Arjuna uvacha atha kena prayukto yam papam charati purushaha anichan api varshneya baladiva niyojitaha. Arjuna said, O descendant of Rishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts even unwillingly as if engaged by force? 3.36. So he's asking a question, very important question. First, Krishna says false ego is bewildering to the spirit soul. Okay. And false ego makes the spirit soul believe that he is doing everything. He is the doer. So Arjuna asks, how did we get into this false identity cycle? So a living entity is a part and parcel of Krishna, is a part and parcel of the Supreme. But by nature, he is spiritual, pure, and he has all the qualities of Krishna. Then how did he become like this? How did he get all this contamination? But what happens is when the spirit soul is in contact with the material nature, he acts in sinful ways, so many sinful ways, sometimes as if by force. People know they are committing a sin. Sometimes they know this is wrong, but still they go ahead and do that activity. Why is that? He's asking. So Krishna doesn't actually force, or he is not the reason for us to commit sins. He is not the one who induces a living entity to commit sin, but it is something else that is driving us. So it is due to the lust. It says it is lust, Arjuna, that's driving a living entity to commit sins. So here we see verse. Bhagavacha Kamesha Krodha Isha Rajoguna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vityenam Iha Vairinam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. So we saw this in the previous chapter also. It is nicely depicted here. Let's go over that again. So from thinking stage, it goes to feeling stage and willing and doing stage. By contemplating the objects of the senses, positively or negatively, one develops attachment for them, which leads to lust. Unsatisfied lust results in anger, then delusion, then bewilderment, the loss of intelligence, and then one falls down into gross material existence. So this is what happens. So when a living entity actually comes in contact with material creation, what happens is, see, we all have love for Krishna in our heart. But what happens as soon as we come to this material creation, that eternal love for Krishna is transformed into lust because we are in the association of mode of passion. So the sense of love for God, which is already there, has become lust. It is like milk coming in contact with the tamarind to become yogurt. So that's what has happened to us. So when lust is unsatisfied, what happens? It turns into wrath, and wrath turns into illusion, and illusion continues, and it takes us from one birth to another, and this material existence is giving us so many miseries, but we continue living here. So lust is the greatest enemy. Krishna is saying that. So that is what is causing all these problems. And as we know, he asks so many questions, and once a living entity gets fed up with this, there comes a point when he starts inquiring. Atato Brahma Jignasa. He'll start inquiring, who is the supreme, what is the origin of everything. There comes a point when he starts inquiring, and that is the beginning of the spiritual journey. And then how do we convert this the problem that we have, lust, into from mode of passion? How do you get to mode of goodness? Instead of degrading ourselves to mode of ignorance, we can keep ourselves in mode of goodness by using this wrath in the service of to the Lord. We have examples like Hanuman, who used his anger, wrath to burn Lanka. He did that as a service to Lord Ram. So that was not a sin. So we can use everything in the service of the Lord. So that way, so we are not gaining any reaction also. So lust and wrath, when they are employed in Krishna consciousness, they become our friends. Okay. Instead of our enemies, lust or whatever it is, can be converted into the love of God by keeping ourselves in mode of goodness. And from there, we can transcend beyond these three modes also, get to the Shuddha Sattva platform. So it's going to happen only in Krishna consciousness, when we are acting for the Lord, doing our service for the Lord. Okay. 3.38. Dhumi navriyate vanir yathadarsho malina cha yathol binavrito garbhas tatati nidam avritam. As fire is covered by smoke, as a mirror is covered by dust, but as the embryo is covered by the womb, the living entity is similarly covered by different degrees of this dust. So there are 3 degrees of covering of the living entity by which the pure consciousness is obscured. This covering is lust under different manifestations. That's what is given here. So it's like smoke in the fire, dust on the mirror, and the womb around the embryo. So when lust is compared to smoke, it is like human life, because the fire in the living the living being can be, it can blaze when you just, you can use the smoke, and you can really get into Krishna consciousness completely. That is the beginning of our spiritual journey. But when the what happens, the dust on the mirror, it is actually, do you know the analogy? This was discussed in 18th chapter also. What is the dust on the mirror compared to? What does it refer to? You can unmute and give me the answer if you remember.
Ignorance.
What is the dust on the mirror is actually in ignorance, in the sense it is like a cleansing process of the mirror. There is some dust, so the mind needs to be cleaned up, and this is
lust
of birds and beasts. So
lust.
the dust on the mirror is compared to, yes, these are all different degrees of covering of the living entity by which the consciousness is obscured. That is correct, but I'm asking, what is it compared to? The dust on the mirror refers to a cleaning process of the mind, actually. And that is an analogy for life of birds and beasts. Okay, this is the analogy. And the embryo covered by womb is an analogy for a helpless situation. The child in the womb cannot even move, right? So this stage, actually trees are living. This stage is compared to the life of trees. Trees are living entities, but they are in such a condition due to great exhibition of lust. They can't even do anything. At least we can move, we can get to the temple, we can chant, we can sing, we can perform some activity, but they are completely in a helpless situation. So that is why, that is the comparison here, okay? And human form is actually helping us to develop this Krishna consciousness. We can cultivate Krishna consciousness, revive our love for God, And this can be done under the guidance of a spiritual master. So if we handle this smoke carefully, the fire can blaze. And how do you do that? The process is very simple. You have to start from chanting. Chant the holy names of the Lord. Avritam jnana etena jnanino nitya vairina kama rupena kaunteya dushpurina ninacha. Thus, the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. So, what is he saying here? In the purport, Prabhupada writes, in Manusmriti, it is given very clearly that you cannot satisfy lust by any amount of sense enjoyment. It is like feeding fire, The fire cannot be extinguished by supply of fuel. If you add fuel, what happens? It will blaze even more. Like that. You think, okay, I want to eat something, okay, something junk. You should not be eating that. You eat that. You think, okay, I ate that. This will satisfy me. But no, you feel like eating one more and one more and one more. It's like, adding fuel to fire. So the only way we can come out of this is by using our senses in the service of the Lord. So our advancement in our civilization, this material civilization is based on sense gratification, if you notice. So what this is doing is we are feeding our senses, we are engaging in sense gratification, and this is actually increasing our duration in this material existence, more and more miseries. So this lust is actually a symbol of ignorance. And so we'll continue living like this. So when we are enjoying due to this sense gratification, we feel happy, right? Oh my God, I'm so happy. But that's temporary happiness. This feeling of happiness is temporary. And the more we feed it, it's going to become our enemy. So let's continue understanding this. This is an analogy which will keep coming. Indriyadi mano buddhir asyadhishthanam uchyate etair vimohayadesha jnanam avritya dehinam. Chariot of the body. The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him. So what do they represent? Horses represent the senses, and senses are going haywire. There's so many distractions in the world, right? Eyes want to see something beautiful. Nose wants to smell something nice all the time. Tongue wants to taste all kind of tasty food. So many distractions. And this passenger is the soul. Okay, that's the self. That is us. So, and the intelligence is the driver. Okay, and mind is the driving instrument, the reins. So the soul is just observing. We are not acting at the soul level. So it's just observing. It's like anything happens, it's like, oh, what did the intelligence and mind to do to me now? The soul is enjoying and suffering in the association of mind and senses. But Arjuna also says, in one of the chapters, in the 6th chapter, he'll say the mind is so restless and turbulent, it is obstinate, so strong. Oh Krishna, it is more difficult, than controlling the mind is more difficult than controlling wind. That's what Arjuna says. So it's not easy to control the mind. Mind is so strong. So what happens is there is an analogy that the day we discussed. I don't know whether you remember or it was in the same class. I don't remember. Prabhupada says, see, you have a car and you call the driver and you tell the driver, take me to the temple or take me to a park, take me to the hospital, whatever. The driver is going to drive you to that place. And then you give him instructions, take me home, take, whatever instructions you give, the driver has to listen. And if he's not listening, he is taking you all over town and is being very rash and everything, then you're gone, right? You don't know where you're going. Even if you have a goal, the driver is not listening to you. So that's how it is. If the intelligence is not listening to you, mind is not under control, so you don't know where you're going, and again there is fall down. So the easiest way to control the mind is to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That is what has been suggested to us by Lord Chaitanya. So we must engage our mind fully in Krishna. Only then we'll remain with no other engagements that will agitate our mind. Okay. Tasmat tvam indriyanyadav Niyamya Bharatarshabha Papmanam Prajahihinam Jnana Vijnana Nashan. Therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, curb this great symbol of sin, lust, by regulating the senses and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. Okay, so just a minute. So, what is the highest perfectional stage of a human being, of a human life? So, what is it? We from any stage of life we can start. There is no, conditions. It's better to start early. Okay, we must begin regulating our senses in Krishna consciousness. We must practice devotional service of the Lord and turn this lust into love of God as early as possible. And Krishna says, right at the stage of contemplation, it starts with contemplation, then it leads to lust and anger and wrath and whatnot, right? And that degrades us. We fall down, intelligence gets bewildered, whatnot happens. So from that stage, curb it at that stage only. Curb the lust at that stage. Lord is advising Arjuna to do that. He's saying regulate the senses from the very beginning, so that this sinful enemy, this lust, will not, it's a very big enemy because it will destroy the urge for self-realization. You cannot progress in your spiritual journey if it is controlling you. So he's telling that. So with intelligence, we have to follow all these rules given by the Lord. So from the very beginning of life, one has to learn this Krishna consciousness so that we become fully Krishna conscious and act accordingly. Then we can progress. Okay, this is depicted here. Degrees of covering of the lust on the living entities. The same thing explained in a nice way, giving a clear picture. Lust, different degrees of covering of lust. Beginning of Krishna consciousness. Okay, that is smoke and fire. Cleansing by spiritual methods, dust on the mirror. Cleansing by spiritual methods is, the more you chant, your heart gets cleansed. The sound vibration will cleanse your heart. The name of Krishna and Krishna, there's no difference between Krishna and his name. The name itself is potent. When you say Hare Krishna, so Krishna, that is Krishna directly. It is not like Mataji also gives the example, right? When you say mango, 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 mango is not going to come, right? But Krishna is not like that. His name is very powerful. Krishna and his name, they're not separate. So the more you chant, this dust on the mirror will get cleansed. Your heart will get cleansed. Knowledge completely covered. Om. Okay. Okay, saw this. So let's move on. More characteristics of lust. Characteristics of lust. Cover living entities pure consciousness. Lust is a symbol of ignorance. Lust is never satisfied. Satisfying lust is like adding fuel to fire. Discussed that just now. How to stop it? Stop feeding it and let it die. How? See, it's given here. Okay, now we'll see how to conquer this enemy, lust. Now, the enemy has taken different strategic points, positions in the body of a conditioned soul. So Krishna is helping us. He's giving us hints. He's saying the enemy is sitting in these places. So he's giving us hints so that we can conquer the enemy and know where the enemy can be found. Where do you find it? Mind is the center of all activities of the senses. It is like a storehouse of all ideas for sense gratification. And now mind and senses, they become storehouses of lust. Okay. And once this happens, say your mind is very lusty, your senses are not listening, your mind is not listening, the intelligence also gets bewildered. Once this happens, intelligence also becomes lusty. Then very soon, intelligence is the immediate next door neighbor of the spirit soul. What happens? The spirit soul, this is influencing the spirit soul, right? The spirit soul gets a false identity, false ego. So the spirit soul starts, thinking, okay, this is satisfying my desires. I'm so happy because of the sense gratification. It starts looking for happiness in the wrong place. Then it becomes totally addicted to enjoying the material senses and mistakes that for true happiness. That's what happens. So how to conquer the enemy? So these are the sitting places of lust: senses, mind, and intelligence. Center of all activities of the senses, reservoir of ideas for sense gratification. So then lusty intelligence becomes the capital for all these activities. What happens? It influences the soul to acquire false ego. Okay. Okay. Let's move on. Text 41. So we have to regulate the senses. How to overcome lust? Learn Krishna consciousness from Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Even a late beginner can become lover of God by following regulative principles of devotional service. Verse 3.42. Indriyani paranyahur indriyebhya param manaha manasastu para buddhir yu buddhe paratastu saha. Mind is between senses and intelligence. There is a hierarchy given here. So senses are superior to dull matter, body is matter. Then mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind. And then soul is even higher than the intelligence. This hierarchy is given to us. Okay. So Bhagavad Gita gives us instructions on how we should live, what we should do, and what we should not do. The senses are different outlets for activities of lust. Okay, so this is the hierarchy. We saw that just now. So in Krishna consciousness, what happens is the soul makes direct connection with Krishna. So once that happens, the soul is the master of intelligence, mind, and senses. So when the soul is directly serving Krishna, it's engaged with the Supreme Lord. Naturally, all the other subordinates, intelligence, mind, and senses, they will also automatically become engaged in the Lord's service. So there is no problem. So that understanding that I am the constitution, what is my constitutional position? I am the part and parcel of the Lord, and my constitutional position is such that I have to serve the Lord. I am a servant of the Lord. If we understand that much, that is a solution for the whole problem. So by intelligence, we must engage the mind in Krishna consciousness by complete surrender. And this will happen, under the instructions of a bona fide spiritual master. Very important to have a spiritual master. So then what happens when the mind is controlled, the soul is engaged in the service of the Lord. The senses are like serpents with broken fangs. That's what it says. Because a yogi works very hard to control his senses. And when this is already happening, your senses are directly engaged in the Lord's service. The serpents are like broken fangs. They cannot do anything because you're serving the Lord. So your senses are very busy. They don't have time for anything else. So all this will happen in the association of devotees. We can't do it alone. So the association of devotees is very, very important. Okay, that will avoid us from falling down because our mind will get agitated and again it will pull us towards the wrong direction. So if we are engaged directly in the Lord's service with the help of devotees, then we'll be on the right path and we will not make any mistakes. So it's very important to be in the association of devotees. This we have studied in our 18 days classes also. 5 stages of realization. The first stage is bodily platform. That is a relationship between the Kshetra and Kshetragna. This is like knowledge, jnana. So the first one is Annamaya platform, bodily platform. It is like dull matter compared to the dull matter. And the person who is in this platform, all he thinks is, okay, I am the body and I need food. So he can think only about food and, basic needs. He can't think beyond that. Prabhuji gives one very nice example, such a person is in mode of ignorance. So what he does is, if he wants to drink in the middle of the day, he'll go ahead and drink, he is very on that. I want to enjoy, that's it. My body wants something, I'm going to eat. So his consciousness is at that stage, lowest consciousness. The next stage is pranamaya, sensual platform. This person will satisfy his senses, but he will regulate his senses. He can, control a little. He'll say, okay, and he can also protect himself. The consciousness is little more developed. He'll think, okay, say he wants to drink, the same example again. He will think, okay, not during the day, I have other things to do, and this will distract me. Why don't I wait for the weekend? I'm not going to disturb anything right now. So he can, control a little bit, regulate his senses. But these two stages, the pranamaya platform and manamaya platform, these two stages, even animals can achieve. Nothing great about it. Okay. So next stage is manomaya, mental platform. What happens in this stage? Okay. In this stage, it is like, I'm not the body, I'm not the senses, I'm the mind. So they'll become little more inquisitive. They're curious, they're thinking, and they also get attached to some philosophy, and they'll also listen to classical music. They may read a little. They are involved in satisfying the mind because it's they are in that platform. So that's how it is. They are not lazy or tired about anything. So they are kind of trying to keep their mind calm, and they soothe the mind. They read good books. So they are in that platform. Next is intellectual platform. What happens in this platform? It is higher than the mental platform. They are more like gnanis. They understand that I'm not the body. They'll start thinking, am I the body? Am I the mind? Am I the senses? What am I? And they want to know more about it. So they gather knowledge. So they become gnanis. So the highest platform is above the intellectual platform. Highest platform is Anandamaya Kosha. Anandamaya. This is the stage where one is happily situated in the original constitutional position of being a soul. That person is very convinced that, is firmly established that he is the spirit soul. He knows what is his origin, what activities he's supposed to do, and he is engaged in the Lord's service. Nothing can disturb him. Happiness, sadness, nothing. One example we have is Prabhupada. He was working constantly, and he had a very hectic schedule, but he was not working from intellectual, mental, or sensual platform. He was like he knew very well what he was doing, his duties and everything, and such person, nothing can interrupt their service. So they are on that platform, and they're always happy. So this is how it is. It is also, IQ, EQ, SQ. This slide is related to that. So best thing to do is develop SQ, spiritual quotient. Then everything gets included in it. We have 2 more slides, and then we can start chapter 4. So not bad, because this was pending from last week. So we had to do this. Okay, text 42. So we have to learn from Bhagavad Gita, hierarchy of sitting places of lust. Different outlets for activities of lust. Senses are different outlets for activities of lust. And caution. Even though the soul is a master of intelligence, mind, and senses, unless it is strengthened by Krishna consciousness, there is every chance of falling down due to the agitated mind. Okay. Okay, 3.43. Evam buddhe param buddhva samstabhyatmanam atmana jahi shatrum mahabaho kamarupam durasadam. Thus, knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind and intelligence, O mighty armed Arjuna, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, Krishna consciousness, and thus by spiritual strength conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. So what is the greatest enemy of the conditioned soul? What is it? It is a desire for overloading, overloading. I want sense gratification, and I want to dominate all the resources provided by material nature. That's like a disease. This is the greatest enemy. So by gradually developing Krishna consciousness, what happens is we can control the mind, our senses, and the intelligence. So this is a summary of this chapter. And all these philosophical speculations and artificial attempts to control the senses and mind by yogic postures, all these, they are not going to help us in the long run. So what we need is, we need training in Krishna consciousness by a higher authority, by a higher intelligence. That's what we need. On our own, we cannot do anything. Just by doing some postures or something, it's not going to happen. We need proper training. We have to follow all the instructions. And then if we understand we are the eternal servitor of the Lord, then things will fall into place. So we reached the last slide here. And so we'll go over the summary. 3.1 to 3.9. Dealing with the confusion, renunciation, or working in Nishkama Karma. That was discussed. From 3.10 to 3.16, from Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga. First he said, there is enjoyment. Do your duty. If you win the kingdom, you get to enjoy. If you die on the battlefield, you get higher planets. So he said, you get to enjoy. But then he said, whether you enjoy or not, go ahead and perform your duty. Don't worry about the fruitive activities. Don't even be attached to it. Just perform your duty. Nishkama Karma. Acting dutifully with detachment to set the correct example. Beware of lust and anger. That was also spoken from 36 to 43. So Krishna introduced the concept of working as a sacrifice for Vishnu, for Krishna. So what happens is, there are people who work, right? They work for themselves. It's called fruitive activity. For such people, they won't understand even if you explain. But what should intelligent people do who are already in Krishna consciousness? Could engage them in some way, indirect way, just engage them in the performance of Krishna consciousness. We saw in one of the slides, right? Like there was a coconut seller. We could just tell him, anyway, you're going to consume this, anyway, you're going to sell this, just offer it to the Lord and then consume. Slowly you can pull them into Krishna consciousness so that, they are somehow involved in this. So and one more thing is, we learned about lust. Then living entities get bewildered by false ego. This happens because the influence of modes of nature, thinking that they are the doers. They think I am doing everything, I am the doer. They forget that the Lord is the one who owns everything. Then Prahlad Maharaj also says, in Bhagavatam, he says, the only enemy we have, we don't have any other enemy other than our own. He says that. So in the entire material creation, that's the worst enemy you can have, your own mind. If it is not helping you, then that's your enemy. Then Krishna prescribes Nishkama Karma Yoga. So we should remember all these points to move ahead to the next chapter. He said, right? So lust is a formidable enemy, and you can conquer lust with deliberate spiritual intelligence, Jnana Yoga. So that is the next chapter. I'm going to open the slides for the next chapter. I'm going to share. But before that, we have an announcement to make. And Nandita Mataji is going to, is she there? Yes, she's there. I'll make her co-host. She has some very important information for you all. Please listen to her.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Rupa Mataji, can you pause the YouTube?
Oh, it will pause. Is there a way to pause it, Mataji?
No problem, Mataji. I'll take only 5 minutes or lesser.
No, I don't know how to do that, because it's like stop live stream. That's the only option I see. If I stop, then I have to start again. So we can do
okay. No problem, Mataji. It's just that there were people joining. So I was wondering if we should pause it, but no problem. They can watch the recording if they wish to.
Is that okay? Okay, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much. Thank you for the time, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Matajis and Prabhujis. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for coming to class. I had already put a message in your group about Bhakti Vrikshas. I am just here to tell you for 5 minutes about it, and perhaps you can ask me any questions you have, because we'd like to clarify all your doubts today so that you all can join the group tomorrow and start your classes next week. Bhakti Vriksha is basically tree of devotion under which we all learn and progress spiritually. We have about 7 Bhakti Vriksha leaders to lead our groups. Haribol, that's a lot. And excellent devotees have come forward to render services, which is very, very fortunate for your batch. We will introduce them to you tomorrow. They have already selected timings all through the week from Monday to Sunday. in different time slots. So we will put the timings in your groups tonight. Y'all can check it out and then decide which group you want to join. You have to join one group only and attend regularly. The attendance of BV study groups also is taken into consideration when you are progressing to level 3. So filling your sadhana form, attending the main class and submitting your attendance, submitting your sadhana chart is a must. And association with devotees is the most important thing for progressing in your spiritual journey in Krishna consciousness. So we will put the group timings tonight, so you all can check what is most convenient to you, and tomorrow we'll give you links to join, and you all can join the group that you wish to. And you have to attend regularly, and this is under the directive and instructions of Namanishtadas Prabhuji that we are doing this. We do this for every batch that comes to level 2 and in level 3. And this makes a lot of difference to our spiritual progress and journey. If you have any questions, please raise your hand and I can answer them very quickly, because I'm holding up the class. No questions? Everyone's ready to join BVs?
Yes, Mataji, all clear.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. Okay, great. Okay, so even tomorrow, if you all have questions, you all can write to me or Chaitali Mataji. We can respond as soon as possible. And please remember that you all have to join one group, and please attend regularly. No joining multiple groups. And if you all want a change later sometime and you all just can't manage attending that group that you have joined, you can let us know. We can try to shift you depending on the number of people in each group, because we are not allowed to take more than 10 people, so that we associate in smaller groups, read together and understand together, share our realizations, and grow together and go together to the next level. So thank you so much for your time. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Haribol. Thank you, Rupa Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So I'll share screen for chapter 4, Jnana Yoga. Just a minute. Transcendental knowledge. So you all able to see the screen, right?
Yes.
Thank you, Mataji. So let's start. Transcendental knowledge and yoga. Okay. Let's pay our obeisances to Shri Shri Radha Govinda. So this is what we just finished. So we already went over this, this summary. We just discussed this summary. So let's move ahead and start the chapter. We will hopefully do till 9 o'clock, and then after 9 we can take some questions. Half of the chapter we'll do today, the other half we'll do tomorrow. So that way we have time. There are around 60 slides, so we should be able to do it. It's not a very long chapter. Should be okay. Okay, in this chapter, chapter 4. Okay. Section 1, knowledge of Krishna, transcendental knowledge, evam parampara prapta, that is from 1 to 10. We'll discuss that. Section 2 deals with Krishna as the goal of all paths and the creator of Varnashrama system. Section 3, Karma Yoga. Section 4, 25 to 33, sacrifices lead to transcendental knowledge. And section 5, summary of transcendental knowledge. So transcendental knowledge actually descends from Krishna himself in disciplic succession. That's what Krishna is going to tell now, okay? And one who knows Krishna's divine nature, and he knows how he appears and how he disappears, it does not take birth like us. So one who understands that, he can attain liberation. Liberation in the sense, Bhakti Yoga, completely in the Lord's service. So karma can be understood on the platform of Jnana, and Jnana can be achieved through Yajna, sacrifices. So Krishna is also giving a very important instruction. He says, we must take shelter of a bona fide guru. Tad Vidhi Pranipatina. In that verse, we will discuss that. So transcendental knowledge about Krishna, verses 1 to 10. The first 10 verses tell about the history of Bhagavad Gita and who Krishna is, why he appears, and when does he appear, everything. Importance of parampara. Transcendental knowledge about Krishna should be received by disciplic succession. This reveals the truth about Krishna's form, his birth, and his activities. Knowing these truths, one who takes shelter of Krishna becomes purified. Krishna. Okay. History of Bhagavad Gita. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvati Yogam Ruktavanaham Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvakave Abravit. The Blessed Lord said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivasvan, and Vivasvan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ikshvaka. Okay, so Krishna is saying, I have imparted this knowledge to sun god Vivasvan long back, long ago, and Vivasvan instructed it to Vaivasvat Manu. So Gita is a standard book of knowledge. It is not mental concoction or it is not fiction. So this is a standard book of knowledge which is coming down from time immemorial. That we should remember. And it was delivered to the royal order of all planets. Why was it so? Why was it given to the royal order of all the planets? Because the kings who are ruling these planets, they're supposed to protect their citizens and they're going to help them also. They want to help them. This will by providing this knowledge to these kings, what happens is they can help their citizens to come off from this material bondage of lust. So this will enable the kings to rule the citizens properly and protect them from this material bondage of lust. So that is the intention. That way all citizens will understand that my life, this human life is very precious and it is meant for cultivation of spiritual knowledge. So they should take advantage of what the king is providing. He'll provide an atmosphere and environment for them to be successful in their spiritual journey. So that is why the rulers need to know this. They should have this knowledge. It's very important for all the rulers to have this knowledge so that everyone can benefit. And they are obliged to impart this lessons to their citizens by education, culture, and devotion. So Bhagavad Gita must be taught to all these leaders of the society so that they can rule properly and they can help everyone. And just like how we accept Vedas as authentic, we don't question it, right? Because it is just like it is apaurushaya. Whatever knowledge is given in the Vedas, we don't question, we just accept. Just like that, Bhagavad Gita also must be accepted without any mundane interpretation. So because it's coming from the Lord himself, this knowledge is apaurushaya, means it is not coming from any human being. It is coming from the Supreme Lord himself. Okay. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo viduhu sakale neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. Okay, it appears to be lost. So Bhagavad Gita was not spoken for the first time to Arjuna. Krishna is saying that. He's saying Maharaja Ikshvaku brought it down to earth, and this was given to all the saintly kings, and this was given in disciplic succession. But what happens after some time, the knowledge was not being passed on properly. In course of time, the succession was broken, and it is said here, the science appears to be lost. So this is real knowledge. It's very important to understand this knowledge. We never learn this knowledge anywhere in any of our textbooks that we learned in our school and college. It was never taught to us in the in our education system. So it seems to be very important. We have to understand this. So Krishna himself is saying, no, this was lost, so I'm here. I'm going to instruct you again about this. So that's what he is saying. Prabhu gives a very nice example. Whatever our education system does not speak about soul, he says, how do you define skills? What do you mean by skills? What are morals? What are values? He gives an example. It's like you're driving a car. Okay, you say, oh, I have knowledge how to drive a car. No, that you just have the skills. Okay, you know how to drive the car. That is a skill. And then while driving, you don't want to hit anyone or hurt anyone. So that is you have some moral values where you don't want to hurt anyone. You're doing your duty properly. Then ultimately you know where you're going, right? There's a destination you want to reach. So that is knowledge. So that is like that. So what we learn in schools and colleges is just like we are gaining lot of information. We are developing our skills so that we can survive in the society, to maintain our own body and soul together. But actually real knowledge is this, what is coming from Bhagavad Gita, what Lord is providing us. It's very important to know this. Okay. Here we see that, there are 4 paramparas. This knowledge of spiritual science has to be received in a parampara system. So that is the criteria. It's not like somebody is a scholar and Sanskrit and that makes him qualified. We can recite Bhagavad Gita and he has all the knowledge. That's not how it is. It needs to be understood from a spiritual master who is coming from that parampara system. So just like how we choose a college, how we choose a university, we see if it is registered and all. Are the teachers qualified to teach? We see so many things, right? Then we choose the college. Just like that, when we want to understand Bhagavad Gita, we have to make sure we are understanding from one of these paramparas. If we are learning Bhagavad Gita from any of these, any one of these parampara systems, then the knowledge is accurate. Otherwise, it is not. So there are 4 parampara systems, as we can see, bona fide parampara systems. One coming from Lord Brahma, one originating from Mother Lakshmi, Sri Parampara. Lord Brahma is Brahma Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara, where Prabhupada belongs to this Parampara. And this is where we belong. So the most prominent Acharya in this Parampara system is Madhvacharya. And then Sri Parampara, the most prominent Acharya is Ramanujacharya. Then Rudra Parampara, the most prominent Acharya is Vishnu Swami. And there is one originating from the 4 Kumaras. The most prominent Acharya is Nimbarka Charya. So there are many interpretations and translations in the society, and some of them are just written by demoniac people because they don't have any proper knowledge. They write from their own mental speculation. This is my understanding. So you understand how I understand, and this is the real way Bhagavad Gita should be understood. They write their own commentary. And there are atheists who think Krishna is a human being. So they don't even understand in a proper way. Now, Arjuna is a devotee of, pure devotee of Krishna. So he knows who Krishna is. He's asking all these questions not for himself, but he wants everyone to benefit from this. That is why he is inquiring. Okay? He's inquiring for himself in such a way that all our doubts also will get cleared. So that's how it is. Okay. Significance of parampara. The Bhagavad Gita is coming directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is transcendental knowledge and must not be altered in any way. The knowledge of the Gita must be accepted without material interpretation or by mental speculation. It must be understood by the mercy of the Lord. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita must be accepted from someone who has achieved the Lord's mercy. That is the proper qualification. Having learned it properly from someone having the proper qualification who learned it properly. This is parampara. And this, you just have to hear it, no need to memorize all this. This is just for our understanding. It is a little bit information about one day of Brahma. Okay. So this will help us to calculate how old Manu is and how old sun god is. And it is giving us information about the yugas and manvantras and all that. We'll just go over it. So there are 4 yugas, as you know: Kali Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, and Satya Yuga. If Kali Yuga is 4,32,000 years, Dwapara Yuga is double that. So this, if Kali Yuga is X, Dwapara Yuga is 2X, Treta Yuga is 3X, and Satya Yuga is 3X. That is the duration. Then all these 4 yugas together make one Divya Yuga. So that is 4 yugas are 4.32 million years. Okay. And 71 Divya Yugas make one Manvantara. So that is 306.72 million years. And then 1 day of Brahma, that is Kalpa, it is made of 14 Manvantaras and 15 Sandhyas. Sandhya means partial devastation. So the life of Brahma is 311. He lives for 100 years. So out of this calculation, you get this number. 311.04 trillion years. That is 36,000 kalpas, days of Brahma, and an equal number of nights. Okay. Lot of maths. This is Vedic math. So life of Brahma. Brahma has so far past 50 years. Okay. 6 manvantaras over. So these many million years. 27 cycles of 4 yugas are over. Then Satya, Treta, Dwapara Yuga are over. We are in Kali Yuga. Time elapsed in Kali Yuga is 5,117 years. So life of Brahma from this calculation is about 100 and so far it is like this much. 155.522 trillion years. Life of Manu. Okay. 27 cycles of 4 yugas are over. 116.6400 million years. Satya, Treta, Dwapara Yuga. So 9 times this much. 3.888 million years. Time elapsed in Kali Yuga, 5,117 years. So life of Manu is, you add this up, it is 120.5331 million years. Accepting that before the birth of Manu, the Gita was spoken by the Lord to his disciple, the sun god Vivaswan. Gita was spoken 120 million years ago to Vivaswan. Okay. So Gita came on earth, and Prabhupada gives us references from different places. Here it gives reference from Mahabharata, Shantipar. In the Mahabharata, Shantipar, we can trace out the history of Gita as follows. Treta yugatau chatato vivasvan manavedadau manu chaloka vrityartham utekshvaka vedadau ikshvakuna chakatito vyapya lokan avastitaha. In the beginning of the Treta Yuga millennium, this science of the relationship with the Supreme was delivered by Vivasvan to Manu. Manu, being the father of mankind, gave it to his son Maharaja Ikshvaku, the king of this earth planet, and forefather of the Raghu dynasty, in which Lord Ramachandra appeared. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita existed in the human society from the time of Maharaja Ikshvaku. So by this calculation, Gita came on earth 2 million years ago. Okay. So in our calculation, this is how it is. 1 day of Brahma is this much. Okay. And 1 hour of Brahma is 360 lakh years. 1 minute of Brahma is 60 lakh years. And 1 second of Brahma is 1 lakh years. So a lot of calculation there. Okay. 4.3. Sa evayam maya tiyatya yoga prokta puratanaha bhakto sime sakha cheti rahasyam hetad uttamam. That very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme is today told by me to you because you are my devotee as well as my friend. Therefore, you can understand the transcendental mystery of this science. So people ask, right, why Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. So he's saying, he's giving reasons for that here. So there are two classes of men, devotees and demons. For demons, it is not possible to understand this great mysterious science. And there are so many editions, as we know. We must remember that commentations coming from such demons are all useless. We should never even try to understand them because it won't make sense. And it's not right also. They may mislead us. But Arjuna accepts Krishna as a supreme personality of Godhead. So we should understand Gita the way Arjuna is trying to understand, that is the right way. Because demoniac, they don't believe in Krishna, and atheists, they think he is a human being. So from their own mental concoction, they will say something. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is warning us. He says, please don't get into such misleading paths. Please hear it from a devotee. Okay. Arjuna's qualification to hear Bhagavad Gita from Arjuna. Arjuna is a devotee and he is a friend. He accepts Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead. These are his qualifications. Arjuna's doubt. How can Krishna, born as son of Devaki, instruct Vivaswan, who is millions of years old? Arjuna uvacha aparam bhavato janma param janma vivasvataha katham etad vijnaniyam vijaniyam tvam adau proktavaniti. So he's saying the sun god Vivaswan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? Arjuna is not doubting him. He's saying, how am I to understand? I am very confused. Help me understand this. He's not saying I don't, nothing, no confusion there. He completely trusts Krishna. He just wants to understand. He's saying, clear this for me. So Arjuna asks these questions and Krishna is going to tell us, how, when and why he appears. All his questions he'll answer and we'll also understand. So he just appears like an ordinary person, right? He looks just like one of us, but that is not true. Because it's just like sun appearing and disappearing. So we won't say sun, like how, whether sun is in the sky or no, we know the sun still exists. It's like that. He comes, he appears, and he disappears. Now here, because he was in his own transcendental form when he was here, just like, how Krishna is in the Goloka Vrindavana. So that is very difficult for people to understand. Okay. And even when he appeared here as a baby, first he appeared as Narayana in his four-handed form. Then he appeared as a baby. In his Narayana form, he had all the decorations and opulences. He had his original eternal form. So Devaki and Vasudeva saw that. So, and also we saw, that 27 manvantras or whatever. So the Lord appears on schedule, in the 28th millennium of the 7th Manu, in one day of Brahma. But he is not obligated to follow any rules. If he wants to appear, he can appear anytime he wants to. But that's just the schedule, that's all. So Krishna is the oldest person. We'll understand that in the next few chapters also. But he never ages beyond youth. He always looks young. Even on the battlefield, you can see he looks very, very young. He had grandchildren, but he looked like he was like around 20 or 25 years old. So people who are, they know about his appearance and disappearance and understand that he is not common, only they can progress in their spiritual journey. And he is a Lord of all living entities. So Krishna, actually, he is his devotee and he knows everything about Krishna. In the 10th chapter, we will know more, like how Arjuna understands Krishna so well. But, he wants to ask all these questions for ourselves, for our sake. Okay. Why does Arjuna question about this doubt? To defy demoniac and atheistic people who say that Krishna is ordinary. He wants Krishna to speak authoritatively. Okay. Because Krishna himself can talk about himself, right? He can give more information and make things very clear. So he says, okay, speak from your own mouth and, give us all the information. Krishna reveals his position. Bhagavad Gita. verses 5 to 10. How could you tell Bhagavad Gita to the sun god Vivaswan if he is senior by birth to you? He's telling me both are contemporaries. You are of my age. How did this happen? Okay. And these words, he's saying Parantapa, he's saying, oh, subduer of enemy. That means one who gives to others. What? Transcendental knowledge. Okay, now we should understand he's calling him Parantapa because he's like a mighty hero. Arjuna is a very powerful person, he's highly qualified, But in spite of all that, he does not remember what happened in his previous birth. He does not remember anything at all. They're eternal, there are eternal companions. Wherever Lord goes, Arjuna goes with him. Yesterday we were discussing about Narnara and Rishi. So they're always together. But a living entity's position is such that he'll forget, It happens, you can question yourself. If somebody asks, what were you doing on some date? At the same time, right? Say now it is like around 8 o'clock, right? Around 8 o'clock, say on such and such a date, on such and such a day, what were you doing? It's not easy for us to recall. But Krishna is not like that. He remembers every incarnation of his. He remembers about everything, about our living entities, past, present, future, everything. His position is very different. So he's calling him Parantapa to say that a living entity, however powerful or great he is, he's still a living entity only. His position is different. He has his own limitations. He cannot remember many things, but the Lord remembers everything. Okay, that is the significance of this. Okay. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bahuni me Vyatitani. Just a minute. Bahuni me Vyatitani Janmani Tava Charjuna Taniham Veda Sarvani Natvam Vetta Parantapa. The personality of Godhead said, many births, both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. Okay. Although I am unborn, in 4.6 is saying, Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim swam adhisthaya sambhavami atma mayaya. Sambhavami atma mayaya means I appear. He comes in his own original form. Okay? In his own transcendental body. Although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. Krishna is saying that himself. Okay. So Vedas also specify that the Lord is one without a second. He manifests himself in countless forms. He is like the Vaidurya stone. In the Vaidurya stone, it changes color, but it still remains the same. It is one. So only a pure devotee of the Lord, unalloyed devotee of the Lord, only he can understand Krishna's original nature. He can understand all these multi-forms. But it is very difficult to understand for an ordinary conditioned soul. And we cannot understand Krishna just by studying Vedas also. Vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhakto. It says, okay, it said. So it is not easy to understand Krishna just by, I'll read some Vedas and all these different scriptures and try to understand Krishna. It is not like that. Only a pure devotee can understand Krishna. Okay. So here it is, he's making it very clear. But he's telling you are present, Arjuna, you are very much with me. It's just that you have forgotten, but I remember everything that happened. So a living entity is never equal to Krishna. Arjuna can never become equal to Krishna. They are not on the same level. That doubt is cleared. Difference between Krishna and us. Krishna's form is spiritual. Our form is temporary. We are controlled by Maya. Krishna is controller of Maya. See, this is us, the coverings of the soul. The soul, you see, we have the gross body. Okay, the soul is covered by the subtle body, mind, intelligence, false ego, and that is covered by the gross body. Right? You see that made of the elements, 5 elements. You see, this is Krishna killing Kamsa. Okay, why did he appear? To establish religion. That's what he says, right? We'll learn that also. He established the rule of Yudhishthira Maharaj and annihilated the Kauravas because the Kauravas were adharmis. They were not ruling properly. Okay, that was his purpose. But his specific purpose was to mitigate the anxieties of his pure devotees. He punishes the miscreants by delivering them by his costless mercy. Okay, and we should understand that's why he was there to give pleasure to his devotees. That was his internal reason. And he re-established religion in the sense by re-establishing religion, dharma, he re-established Bhakti Yoga. Okay, we have to do Bhakti Yoga to Krishna, Bhakti Yoga for Krishna. That is when we can come out of this material creation, we can come out of our miseries. So the Lord appears in his own body, he's eternal, he's blissful, he's completely in knowledge by his internal potency. And that is how he appears. He never ages beyond youth. And his body or intelligence both never deteriorate. So that we must remember. And he is also saying, Atma Maya, I appear in my own transcendental form by his own causeless mercy. Differences between Krishna and the conditioned living entity. So it's not table form for us to understand. Krishna, eternal and remembers past, present, and future, is Achyuta. He never forgets, infallible. Okay, eternal but forgets. Conditioned living entity forgets everything. We just discussed that. Krishna remembers all births because body does not change or deteriorate, but we change bodies, right? As soon as we change our body, we forget what happened in that body. So we forget. Krishna appears by his own will. We are forced to appear by karma, right? We are put into a situation because of our own karmic accounts, because of our desires, because of our previous activities. We are forced to appear in certain family, in a certain situation. We are going through so many pain, so many different situations in our life. All this is because of our own karmic account. But for Krishna, that's not true. He can appear by his own will. He can appear wherever he wants to, however he wants to. And his body is transcendental. Our body is material. And there is no difference between his body and himself. Advaita. That is why it's called Advaita. But the soul acquires an external body in conditioned living entities. Life, this is what happens. The soul acquires an external body, a gross and a subtle body. Krishna, there is nothing that his body himself, there's no difference. So Krishna doesn't change body. So what does Achyuta mean? That means he never fails to reciprocate to his devotees, and also means he never forgets himself. Okay, he remembers all his incarnations. He remembers what happened at any given point of time in the past. He knows what is happening, and he also knows what's going to happen in the future. So his position is different. Okay, let's go ahead. Text 4.7 to 4.8 talks about his activities. It explains when and why Krishna appears. Reasons of descent. When does Krishna appear? This is a very famous verse. Yada yada dharmasya glanir bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. So this is an external reason. He's saying, I'm appearing for this reason, right? But actually to establish dharma and all that. But he's so powerful that he can send anyone to kill these demons. A demon like Kamsa or demon like Ravana, for instance. Anyone, he could have sent anyone. It's not so difficult for him. We can see how a little coronavirus is ruining everyone's life, right? Right now, actually, it's kind of situation is better. But we saw how difficult it was for everyone to survive. So Krishna doesn't, he does not need to come here personally to kill a demon like Kamsa. But he wanted to please his devotees. Prahlad Maharaj called him and he appeared in the form of Narsimhadev. Same way, Vasudeva and Devaki, his pure devotees, wanted him to appear. They prayed. So he appeared. So he's talking about principles of religion. Where do you find principles of religion? Where is it given? Can you unmute and Tell me, where can you find principles of religion?
In the Vedas, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. So they are found in the Vedas. And Vedas are spoken by the Lord himself to Brahma. It was given into Brahma's heart. So Brahma would, he had all this knowledge because the Lord provided him with that knowledge. So nobody can manufacture religion. You cannot say, I will start a religion, please come and join tomorrow. I've made some rules, please you all come, I have a special religion. That's not how it works. Nobody can manufacture like that, because the Shastras and Vedas are coming from a person who has no defects. It's coming from a perfect person. We conditioned souls, we have defects. We have 4 defects. We have imperfect senses, and we have propensity to cheat, and we have propensity to commit mistakes, and we are under illusion. So we cannot create any religion or create our own shastras. That is not the right way to understand. So we have to understand whatever knowledge or religion, everything based on what is given in our scriptures. So we have to accept as it is. And all the avatars also. If the avatara is mentioned in the scriptures, then that avatara is authentic. Otherwise, it's not. Nobody can say, I am God. And, I am another form of Vishnu. Please come and worship me. Nothing like that. Is he mentioned in the scriptures? Then no. Buddha was mentioned in the scriptures. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was mentioned in the scriptures. So we cannot, all the incarnations are mentioned in the scriptures. They're eternal. It's like cyclic. They appear whenever there is a reason to appear. They'll appear and they'll disappear also. They'll go, but they are eternal. So that's how we should understand. Okay, if the scriptures are talking about the avatars, they're talking about all these religious principles, then they're authentic. We cannot just cook our own policy. That's how it is. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I dissent myself. But we know it's internal reason also. Why does Krishna appear? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. He established the rule of Yudhishthira Maharaj. Just now we discussed that. So that was his reason. He's saying, I appear. Sambhavami yuge yuge. By my own causeless mercy. So he actually mitigates the anxieties of his pure devotees by appearing to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion. I myself appear millennium after millennium. What is the benefit of knowing Krishna's appearance and activities? Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam eti so Arjuna. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo vetti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mam eti so Arjuna. What is he saying? He's saying, this is a very important verse in Bhagavad Gita. It's called the golden verse of Bhagavad Gita. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activity does not leave body is born again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode. Oh Arjuna, what is he saying? He's saying, so the one who understands this verse, who understands his Krishna's original nature, he does not take birth again. He can reach Krishna's abode. So knowing Krishna means understanding, realizing that he is imperishable, he is completely, full of knowledge, he is eternally blissful. One who understands that, then such a person need not come back to this material creation again. He can live in the, Vaikuntha planets. He's saying he has already, liberated. He's on that platform. So many people who cannot understand. There are many who cannot understand the spiritual existence of Krishna. When he appeared in his own form. They cannot understand that. So that is how it goes. So what is the benefit of understanding transcendental knowledge? We can attain spiritual nature. Okay. And we don't just learn how to survive in this planet, we also understand what's going to happen to us after we give up this body. It's going to give us protection even after death. So that is the importance of this verse, very important. But the impersonalists and the yogis, and there are some people who are, they work very, very hard to attain that liberation, but it's a very troublesome path. The easiest path is direct service to Krishna, Bhakti Yoga. Okay, just simply by understanding his transcendental nature, we can reach his abode just by following all the instructions. Vitaraga bhaya krodha manmaya mam upasritaha bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhavam agataha. Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me. Many, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me. Thus, they all attained transcendental love for me. Okay. So he's fully realized only by his pure devotees. Okay. And if we are not able to understand Krishna, that's because of these reasons: raga, bhaya, krodha. One who is freed from attachment, fear, and anger, he can understand Krishna easily. Raga, material attachment. Okay. Because if there is too much to enjoy, they'll neglect their spiritual life. They are too attached in their material life. They're like, okay, they are more inclined to enjoy their senses. So they are ignoring their spiritual life. So that is raga. Okay. Bhaya means fear of our spiritual personal identity. They think body means pain, right? So probably God does not have a body, and they have a like conception of light, like God is formless, he's just energy, and we can just go merge in him. This kind of, they have the fear of having an identity. That is fear. Then krodha, anger, frustration. They're frustrated in life, because they're so confused. People are so confused because they hear so many philosophies about so many different conceptions about God. They're so confused. They don't know what to follow. And, that is one kind of thought process. So because of these problems, people cannot progress in their spiritual path. If we are not able to chant properly or not able to perform any devotional service, or there is some blocker, it could be one of these. Okay. One of these reasons. Different degrees of affliction. Raga, strong attachment to life leads to negligence of spiritual life. Bhaya, fear of personal spiritual identity. For them, merging into impersonal is highest. It's like, okay, I just merged. It's like so peaceful it is, no need to worry. Just merge and just live peacefully in that Brahmajyoti. That's their conception. So because they're too absorbed in material bodily concept of retaining personality after liberation from matter frightens them. But a devotee is not worried about that, because even in his spiritual life, he is actually serving the Lord. So he does not have to worry, Analogy is, impersonalists compare living entities to the bubbles in the ocean, which merges into the ocean. It's like we all are souls, we're just going to merge with that light. Krodha, concept of void, resulting from frustration of life. They become angry at all sorts of spiritual speculation out of hopelessness. These are the reasons. And they take to intoxications. They accept hallucinations as spiritual vision. Section 2. Applying transcendental knowledge. By hearing about Krishna, many, many persons in the past became purified and attained love for Krishna. They attained love for Krishna because this was their desire and Krishna fulfilled it. We'll do 3 more slides and then we can do the rest tomorrow. So don't worry, we have time, nothing to worry. So as all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. O son of Pritha, I get the concept of God based on how much I am willing to surrender. So it's telling, we can understand Krishna based on how much we are ready to accept him, how much the degree of our surrender to him. Okay. What if someone takes shelter of Krishna with something other than a desire to achieve transcendental love for him? Krishna explains reciprocation with such category of souls. Ye yatha तथैव भजाम्यहं मम वर्त्मानुवर्तन्ते मनुष्या पार्थ सर्वशः. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Okay. So Krishna will reward them accordingly based on their degree of surrender. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Radha. Whether we agree or not, we are under his control. So it's always like that. So Krishna's energies are everywhere and he is the proprietor. So wherever we are in this material creation or even in the spiritual world, we are still under the rule. So that's how it is. So Krishna reciprocates just as the devotee wants him. Some people want to serve him as a friend. Some, they have different bhava and different thing based on once they understand their own svarupa. Based on that, he will reciprocate. Even spiritual world is like that. Once a devotee reaches there, he can serve the Lord in different ways. So even here in this world, to fruity workers, he reciprocates as Yagneshwara. Okay, you do all the sacrifices, everything. I will, reciprocate in that form. Yogis want mystic powers. So Krishna will award them that. So it's like that, based on what they desire. So that's how it is going to happen. Okay. So now, Krishna rewards everyone according to their surrender. 3 levels of realizing the absolute truth. Who realizes Krishna fully? Only a pure devotee. Okay. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. There are 3 levels of 3 features. 3 levels of understanding Krishna. Everyone is looking for Krishna in different aspects of his manifestation. Krishna is object of everyone's realization. So Krishna reciprocates based on desires. So if the type of a devotee is a fruity worker, Lord reciprocates as Yagneshwara. If he is an impersonalist, Krishna will reciprocate as Brahma Jyoti. He'll give him that kind of liberation. And if the devotee is a yogi, he wants mystic powers, Krishna will award that. And a type of devotee can serve him five primary rasas, Shantaras. You know those 5 primary rasas? Does anyone remember? What are the 5 primary rasas? Okay, you can think about it and then unmute and give the answers. So without coming to highest perfection of Krishna consciousness, all attempts are imperfect. Okay. Everyone depends on Krishna's mercy for success. All kinds of spiritual process are but different degrees of success on same path. So what are the 5 primary rasas? Shantaras, Dasyaras, Sakyaras, Vatsalyaras, Madhuryaras. These are 5 rasas in which a devotee can serve the Lord in the spiritual world. Yashodamaya is Vatsalyaras. She just takes care of him as a mother. So like that, different rasas. And Sakyaras is Arjuna. So everyone is searching for Krishna in the different aspects of his manifestations. But Krishna is the object of everyone's realization. Thus, anyone and everyone is satisfied according to their own desire. But he is the supreme. Okay. So we have to remember that. Then what else? We pretty much covered this slide. Okay, we can actually do one more slide after this. Then we can take a break. We'll do the remaining slides tomorrow. Okay, the rest of the chapter. We finished half the chapter right now, which is good. So we are actually good. Okay. Kangshantaha karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataha Shipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. Men in this world desire success in fruitive activities and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world. Men in this world desire success in fruitive activities and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, same thing is given here. So the thing is, people go to demigods because they have something, some desire to be fulfilled. They want some material desires to be fulfilled. That's why they go. That's what it says. So demigods, what is the difference? Okay, always worship Supreme as obedient servants. Okay, and they are created by Supreme. And Krishna is the supreme whole. He is only one. He is supremely worshipable. And demigods exist within material nature, but the supreme creator is a supreme only. Okay. And demigods, they are delegated with various grades of power to manage the affairs of the universe. But Krishna is beyond material creation. He's a supreme controller. Demigods are subordinate to the will of the supreme. Krishna is supremely independent. Demigods have material bodies, hence subject to birth, old age, disease, and death. But Krishna is completely spiritual. He has spiritual body. He has no birth, no death, no old age, and no disease. Okay, they come under the influence of the three material modes to different extents. Okay, but Krishna is completely beyond the influence of the three material modes. Eternally the same Supreme Lord. Okay, so tomorrow we'll continue. I'll stop the live stream. We can take some questions and then